I want you to imagine the loneliest place on Earth. It is 1916. You are in Antarctica. You are Sir Ernest Shackleton. Your ship, the Endurance, has been crushed by the ice. You and 2 of your men are forced to make a desperate trek across the frozen mountains of South Georgia Island to find a whaling station. It is a suicide mission. You have no map. You have no food. Your clothes are frozen solid. You have been marching for 36 hours without sleep. If you stop, you die. But as you walk through the blinding white fog, you notice something strange. There are 3 men in your group, yourself, Worsley, and Crean. But every time you try to count the group, you count 4. You feel a presence walking right next to you. It is silent. It is gray. It doesn't leave footprints, but you can feel it breathing. You can feel its attention on you. And strangely, you don't feel fear. You feel comforted. The presence seems to be guiding you. It nudges you to the left when you are about to fall into a crevasse. It gives you a burst of energy when your legs are about to give out. When the 3 men finally stumbled into the whaling station, dirty, starving, and half dead, they didn't speak about the 4th man. It was too weird. But years later, Shackleton wrote in his memoir, "It seemed to me often that we were 4, not 3. And then his companion, Worsley, admitted the exact same thing. He said, "I had a curious feeling that there was another person with us." This phenomenon was later named the 3rd man factor by the poet T.S. Eliot. And once it was named, the floodgates opened. It turns out Shackleton wasn't alone. Throughout history, hundreds of climbers, sailors, divers, and explorers have reported the exact same experience. When a human being reaches the absolute limit of physical and mental endurance, when they are standing on the very edge of death, a guardian appears. Let's look at Charles Lindbergh. In 1927, he made the first solo flight across the Atlantic Ocean. He was awake for 33 hours. He was hallucinating from exhaustion. He described seeing fog islands and ghosts in his cockpit. But then, he felt a presence. He felt distinct entities behind him in the fuselage. He said they spoke to him. They gave him advice on navigation. They kept him awake. They ensured he landed in Paris safely. Lindbergh was a man of science and engineering. He wasn't religious, but he couldn't deny that something else was in that plane with him. Then there is the story of Joe Simpson, the climber who broke his leg on Silla Grande in the Andes. His partner had to cut the rope, dropping Simpson into a crevasse. Simpson was left for dead. He was alone in the dark with a shattered leg. But then, a voice started talking to him. It wasn't his own inner monologue. It was a stern, commanding voice. It told him to stand up. It told him to crawl. It directed his movements for 3 days as he dragged himself back to base camp. Simpson calls it the voice. He says it felt completely separate from his own mind. It was cold, rational, and emotionless. It didn't care about his pain. It only cared about survival. These stories raise a terrifying and beautiful question. What are these beings? For centuries, we called them guardian angels. We called them spirits. We called them gods. But in the 21st century, science has started to look for the answer inside the human brain. And what they found might be even stranger than a ghost. To understand the 3rd man, we have to look at how your brain constructs reality. You think you are a single person. You think yourself is a solid, unbreakable thing. But neuroscience tells us that the self is actually a complex illusion created by the brain constantly monitoring your body. There is a specific region of the brain called the temporoparietal junction, or the TPJ. This area is responsible for integrating sensory information. It takes the data from your eyes, your ears, and your balance system, and it creates a map of where your body is in space. It tells you, this is me, that is the wall. But when you are in extreme survival mode, when you are starving, hypoxic, and exhausted, the brain starts to glitch. The TPJ malfunctions. It loses track of where you end and the world begins. Scientists in Switzerland proved this with an experiment. They took healthy volunteers and stimulated their TPJ with an electric current. The results were shocking. The participants immediately reported feeling a shadow person standing behind them. They felt a presence mimicking their posture. When they leaned forward, the shadow leaned forward. When they hugged their knees, the shadow hugged its knees. The scientists realized that the shadow person wasn't a ghost. It was the patient's own body map. The brain had lost the ability to keep the self inside the body, so it projected a copy of the self outside the body. This is a doppelganger. This explains why Shackleton saw a fourth man. His brain was shutting down. It created a copy of himself to keep him company, because humans are social animals. We survive better in groups. So, in our darkest hour, the brain hacks itself to create a companion. It splits your consciousness in two, the victim and the guide. This connects to a fascinating theory called the Bicameral Mind, proposed by psychologist Julian Jaynes. Jaynes argued that ancient humans from 3,000 years ago did not have consciousness like we do today. He believed they didn't have an internal monologue. When they had a thought, they didn't hear it as "I think I should eat." They heard it as a voice from the sky saying, "Eat." They interpreted their own thoughts as the voices of gods. Jaynes argued that modern consciousness, the ability to say, "I am thinking," is a very recent invention. But the old brain structure is still there, buried deep underneath. The third man factor might be a momentary regression to that ancient mind. Under stress, the modern self breaks down and the ancient God voice wakes up to take control. The most chilling example of this happened on September 11th, 2001. DiFrancesco was working on the 84th floor of the South Tower. When the plane hit, he was trapped. The stairs were blocked. The smoke was blinding. He lay down on the floor, ready to die. He began to drift away. But then, he says, a presence broke through the wall of smoke. It didn't speak. It grabbed his hand. He felt a physical grip. He felt someone pulling him up. The presence led him to a hole in the drywall that he hadn't seen. It guided him down the stairs, through the fire, all the way to the lobby. Ron was the last person to make it out of the South Tower alive. As he ran onto the street, the building collapsed behind him. He swears that he was not alone. He swears someone saved him. Was it an angel? Or was it his own brain, activating a hidden superpower that we only unlock when the clock is at 0? We may never know for sure. But the third man factor teaches us something profound. It teaches us that we are stronger than we think. We have reserves of strength that we cannot access in our daily lives. It teaches us that the human mind is designed to survive at all costs. It will break reality, it will invent ghosts, it will split itself in half just to keep you breathing for one more minute. So, if you ever find yourself in a dark place, alone, and without hope, don't be afraid. Because you might not be as alone as you think. I am your host. Thank you for listening. Subscribe for more mysteries of the mind.